in our final part of modeling a 3D hand, we're going to look at just some additional ways to help improve this. Now, once the fingers are done, you can start to get a feel for how much tapering you need. You'll notice that your thumb probably took a little bit of a beating in the tapering process. And at this point, when you're moving around and you're navigating in 3D space, I know I always encourage you to try to use your viewports. But notice here how there's a little bit of contour. Looks like some of these vertices are a little messed up. When you select a vertice, you go into your vertex mode. Remember to use your transform gizmo. Because in your perspective view, if you just think you're moving it up and down, you may not be. You may be moving it way out of proportion. Making sure that you select the blue, the red, or the green at least keeps you on the right track. So as I use the blue, it is pulling down that vertex a little bit lower than it needs to be, and then so on. And like I said, like this one sits a little high or a little low, so I'm going to raise that up a bit. And you can use your better judgment by looking at your own hand and looking at the different features. Now, our fingers have a lot around this. Our hand doesn't have so much. You could use that procedure where we went through and kind of grabbed these, but we're going to go ahead and add some smooth to this here in a few minutes. Next, determine what's the top and the bottom of your hand. Now, we do have these creases going on in the top and the bottom, so that's not a big deal, but I'm going to say this is the bottom of my hand, and notice it's flat. What I want to do is use these creases, these vertices. I'm going to select all the vertices down the middle here, and then I'm going to use my blue gizmo to pull that up a little bit, and you'll notice how it sort of influences, this is a weird angle, but it influences that part of the mesh and gives it a little bit of definition, almost like in your hand. So now when you back up, it actually looks like you have the palm of the hand. Now you can also do that over here where your thumb is. That extrudes out a bit, so I'm going to go and pull that down just a little bit to give it a little bit more of a ball look. And again, we're not shooting for perfection. The softening, the smoothing is going to be happening here soon, but at least you can see that it looks more like a hand now. It's not so flat. And we didn't add any polygon to that, so it definitely is a nice way to get some experience in gaming, to not add the polygons but show the definition in there. One last thing before we go ahead and smooth this sucker, and that is of course the knuckles. If you look at your fingers, you'll notice that your knuckles kind of bubble up a little bit on the top, but underneath on the bottom of your hand there's a crease. Well, we already have those creases set in here, but at the top's the same, and that's not really accurate. So what I can do is go in and select and move these vertices around, or better yet, I'm going to go into my top view and do that. I can come out here and just in my top view widen the knuckle area a little bit, because it's going to stretch and not fold, whereas your the inside of your hand will. Okay, so take a few minutes to go in and just widen that out, and I'm going to go ahead and pause the video while I do that. But just do that on the top. Leave the bottom go because we're ready set there. Okay, so now that I've got that, you notice all my knuckles at the top are a little bigger, but if you flip the hand over, you'll notice that they are smaller on the underneath, and that's fine. Now we're just going to go ahead. I'm going to show you one example, and then you could do this to the rest. Is because your knuckle bubbles up a little bit, go ahead and select polygon, pick a knuckle surface, and give it just the slightest bit of extrusion. Then do a negative bevel, and what you're going to find, you may have to go in and pick off to the side here, but what you're doing is you're influencing a little bit, and I know it doesn't look real, but once you go ahead and actually soften this, and again I overkilled it there, once you go in and you soften it, it's going to appear like the knuckle. And all that we're doing is adding a couple little faces there. So go ahead and do that to all your knuckles as well. And I'm going to pause the video, and when I come back, we'll continue from there. Okay, now that we're just about ready, I went and I got all my knuckles beveled out there. And I even got a little bit on the thumb there. And any last minute changes that you want to move, you can do that. But go ahead and save before you go on. And what we're going to do now is apply a mesh. Now let's go and try Edit Mesh Mesh Smooth first. And when we do that, look what happens there. It doesn't seem to give, it gives it a nice definition, but it doesn't seem to add too many more to it. Segments, that is. It does more of a NURB surface, as you can see, and we'll talk more about NURBs later on. Now you could roll with this, and I think it looks pretty good, but I'm going to edit, undo, and then I'm going to show you the next one, which is Turbo Smooth. And what we've learned from past lessons is that Turbo Smooth actually adds more sections to the hand. So if you're worried about polygon count, this is definitely not what you want. But if you are looking for a nice clean look, this gives you a lot smoother. Notice how it influences everything off here. So that's your call. And in fact, I'm going to go back, delete Turbo Smooth, and I'm going to go back into Mesh Smooth because that does work for me, I think, here. And that's it. Now you can go ahead and apply a material to your hand to make it look more real, but save it. And then in the next lesson or so, we're going to go ahead and start adding bones to our hand.